Hey there, design fans. Ready to unlock the secrets behind those spaces that just make you say, wow, I wish I lived here?
It's more than just pretty furniture, right?
Way more. We're going deep on interior design and not just the ooh, shiny stuff. I mean, we love that, but how do you actually do it?
We've got all the inside info from top designers, breaking down the how-tos, the career, and even where to find inspiration.
So think of this as your design boot camp. First up, those fundamental principles. They sound kind of stuffy, but trust me, this is the good stuff.
These are the tools, the secret sauce that takes a room from blah to bam.
Okay, so first up, unity. What is it and why should I care?
Imagine walking into a room where everything just works. The colors, the furniture, even the way the light hits. That's unity.
So not just like throwing a bunch of random stuff together and hoping for the best.
Definitely not. It's about creating this cohesive story. Like a good book, everything has its place, and it all makes sense together.
Makes sense. And speaking of things making sense, we've got balance next on the list. But isn't balance like a yoga thing? What's it got to do with sofas and lamps?
More than you think. In design, balance is all about visual weight. A room needs a sense of equilibrium so it doesn't feel like it's tipping over.
Okay, I kind of get it, but can you give me an example?
Sure. Imagine a big, chunky sofa on one side of the room. To balance it out, you might put a large bookcase or a grouping of chairs on the other side.
So everything has a visual weight, and you have to distribute it evenly.
Exactly. Our source mentions a few types of balance: symmetrical, asymmetrical, and even something called radial balance.
Symmetrical, I get like matching lamps on either side of a fireplace. But what about those other ones? They sound fancy.
Well, asymmetrical balance is a bit more free-flowing. It's about creating balance with different shapes, colors, or textures that aren't identical but still create visual harmony.
So it's like a more relaxed kind of balance, less matchy-matchy.
Exactly. And radial balance, that's when everything radiates from a central point, like a dining table with chairs around it. It creates a really nice sense of movement.
Cool. Okay, we've balanced it out, but the room still feels kind of static. What's next?
Rhythm. Just like in music, rhythm in design is all about creating a sense of movement and flow.
So how do you make a room flow? I'm picturing like a lazy river, but with furniture.
Not quite, but I love the imagery. Think about repeating patterns, gradually changing the size of objects, or alternating colors and textures.
So using those throw pillows you mentioned earlier, but maybe with different textures, but within the same color scheme.
Exactly. Now you're getting it. And just like a good song needs a catchy hook, a room needs a focal point, something that draws your eye and adds a touch of drama.
That's where emphasis comes in. Our source kept mentioning that one.
You got it. It could be a stunning piece of artwork, a fireplace, a statement piece of furniture, anything that commands attention.
Okay, so you've got this amazing focal point. Now what?
Now we add some contrast to make it pop even more.
Contrast, like those Instagram filters.
Not exactly. In design, contrast is about using different elements to create visual interest. Think light and dark, smooth and rough, big and small.
So like a fluffy white rug against a dark hardwood floor?
Exactly. Now you're thinking like a designer.
I'm not sure about all that, but okay. What's next on our design bootcamp checklist?
Scale and proportion. This one might sound a bit technical, but it's all about making sure everything in a room relates to each other in terms of size.
So you wouldn't want to pair a giant sectional sofa with a teeny tiny coffee table. They would just look off.
Exactly. You would feel totally out of whack. You want everything to feel balanced and harmonious.
Like Goldilocks, but with furniture.
Love it. And last but not least, we can't forget the details.
Ooh, details. That's where we get to have some fun, right?
Absolutely. Details are all about adding those finishing touches that make a space feel personal and inviting.
So like, what kind of details are we talking about?
Think textures, patterns, accessories, the fluffiness of a rug, the intricate details on a lamp, or the way the light catches a crystal vase.
It's like adding jewelry to an outfit. It just completes the look.
Perfectly said. And the best part is, once you start to understand these principles, you start to see them everywhere, in nature, in art, even in fashion. It's like you've unlocked a whole new way of seeing the world.
Okay, so we've got the design basics down, but what about actually being an interior designer? What does that even look like day to day?
It's definitely more than just picking out pretty fabrics. You're wearing a lot of hats, part artist, part project manager, part therapist, sometimes all at once.
Our source mentions juggling client meetings, sourcing materials, drafting those detailed plans. Sounds like a lot.
It can be, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Imagine sitting down with a client for the first time and they're like, I love mid-century modern, but also boho chic. And Oh, can we fit in this antique chandelier I inherited?
Talk about a design challenge. So how do you even begin to make sense of all that?
That's where those problem-solving skills come in. You have to be able to listen to their needs, understand their style, and then translate all of that into a cohesive design.
And I bet sometimes you have to be the one to tell them, that amazing antique chandelier might not work with the whole minimalist vibe you're going for.
Exactly. You're there to guide them, offer solutions, and sometimes gently steer them away from design disasters.
So you need serious people skills on top of all that creative talent.
Absolutely. You're not just designing a space. You're building a relationship with your client, understanding their dreams and helping them make those dreams a reality.
Speaking of dreams, let's talk about the financial side of things. Our source mentions a pretty wide salary range for interior designers.
It really does vary. A lot depends on your experience level, your location, even the type of clients you work with.
So someone just starting out, maybe fresh out of design school, what kind of salary are we talking?
Well, like any field, those entry-level positions might not be as glamorous, but they're crucial for building your portfolio and learning the ropes.
And I imagine location plays a big role, right? A designer in New York City is probably going to earn more than someone in a smaller town.
Absolutely. Big cities, especially design hubs, tend to have higher salaries, but also a higher cost of living.
So it's all about finding that balance. Our source also mentions long hours and potential travel.
Yeah, design isn't always a 9 to 5 job. There will be late nights, especially when deadlines are looming, and you might have to travel for client meetings, site visits, even to source those perfect pieces.
So you need to be organized, adaptable, and maybe a little bit addicted to coffee.
Let's just say a good sense of humor and a love for what you do goes a long way.
Okay, so you've landed the client, you've got your creative energy flowing. How do you actually bring it all together? Our source talks about this whole design process.
It's like a roadmap, taking you from that initial spark of inspiration to the final reveal, and it all starts with a solid concept.
More than just a mood board full of pretty pictures, right?
Yeah. Way more. This is where you're digging deep, like an investigator of style. You're getting to know your client, their lifestyle, what makes them tick, what their dreams are for this space.
I love that our source mentions the Guggenheim Museum as an example of finding inspiration in unexpected places.
Right. Apparently, that iconic spiral design was inspired by a crumpled piece of paper.
So even a trash can be a gold mine for design ideas. I'm totally going to start looking at things differently now.
That's the spirit. Our source talks about some pretty cool brainstorming techniques, like the cut-up method.
The what now? Sounds kind of intense.
It's actually pretty simple. You take images, words, anything that inspires you, chop them up, and then rearrange them in new and unexpected ways.
So like a design collage. I could get behind that.
Exactly. Or how about using a random object to jumpstart your creativity?
Okay, now you're messing with me. What am I supposed to design with?
A stapler? You'd be surprised. It's called the artichoke technique. You pick a random object, like, yes, even an artichoke, and let its unique qualities spark new ideas.
So I might be staring at an artichoke and suddenly, bam, I've got the perfect shape for a custom bookshelf.
Exactly. It's all about pushing those creative boundaries. But eventually, you got to translate those wild ideas into something concrete. That's where the drawings come in.
Our source mentions everything from rough sketches to those super detailed technical drawings. It sounds like quite the evolution.
It is, and clear communication is key throughout the entire process. Those initial sketches, they're like the mood board's more sophisticated cousin, capturing the overall feel and flow.
And then the technical drawings, those are for the people who actually build the thing, right?
Exactly. They need those precise measurements, the materials, all the nitty-gritty details to bring the design to life. And this is where our old friend scale and proportion comes in again.
Got to make sure that amazing sofa can actually fit through the doorway.
Precisely. Okay, so you've nailed down the design, the drawings are done. Now comes the really fun part, presenting to the client.
It's showtime. I bet that can be a little nerve-wracking, even for seasoned designers.
For sure. You're sharing your creative vision, hoping they love it as much as you do. But it's not just about pretty pictures and fancy presentations.
So what's the secret to a killer presentation?
Balance. You want to wow them with stunning visuals, mood boards, sketches, maybe even 3D renderings. But you also need to clearly communicate how the design functions, how it meets their needs, the practical stuff.
It's about selling a dream, but also keeping it real. And sometimes, even with all that planning and inspiration, even the pros hit a wall. What happens when the creative well runs dry? Where do you go for inspiration then?
It happens to the best of us. Luckily, inspiration is literally everywhere. Our source mentions nature, art, fashion. Even a walk through a museum or flipping through a travel magazine can spark new ideas.
I'm getting the sense that interior design is about way more than just picking out throw pillows. It's about understanding how people live, how they want to feel in their spaces, and then using those fundamental design principles to bring those visions to life.
Exactly. It's about creating spaces that are both beautiful and functional, reflecting the unique personality and style of the people who live there. And the best part is, it's a constantly evolving field. There's always something new to learn, new trends to explore, new ways to push those creative boundaries.
And on that note, I think we've all earned ourselves a little design inspiration, maybe a trip to the fabric stores in order.
Don't forget the artichoke.
Until next time, happy designing, everyone.